I'm like refreshing your page. Oh wait, can you name it? Oh, dude, this guy asked me to name it.
Let's name it.
That one fits way better.
Dude, I'm like refreshing. Name it RaceFace. Let me just copy this. I'll send it in the Discord. I think it's the 16th. Yeah, 16th round.
Let's name it. Can you send me the exact name? I have no idea what you just said.
Discord. Name it RaceFace SARL Sochi 16th round. I send it in 16. Yep.
But yeah, didn't you say you were gonna take the picture and upload this channel?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, let's get the stream working first. I'm watching Keegan. He looks stressed, dude. He's not making good plays.
You edited your channel Hentai Haven.
Wait, is he like he's streaming right now?
Yeah.
My force is fucking done yet, dude. Yo. Do you see that Russian announcer? What is he like he's streaming?
Yeah.
Alright, like we're fully live and everything's working.
Is it?
Yeah. I'm gonna go on.
Can you change the picture?
Dude, do you want me to stream or edit the video for another 20 minutes? It's quite difficult. Alright, I'll do it quick. It's not quick though.
He just went into the wall.
Who?
Keegan.
How do you see that?
I'm watching his stream.
Alright.
He didn't crash fully, but he like dinked the wall. Warming up his tires. Full on Grosjean out here, dude.
Alright, so we need to start like casting right about now.
Alright. Wait, I can't see your stream yet.
On Discord?
No, on YouTube. Still a black screen for me, but anyways. Alright. Welcome to the stream, boys. You're gonna throw me under the bus, dude. Oh, it's live on YouTube, now I see it. No, on YouTube.
Alright, everything seems to be working. Hopefully next time we'll be more efficient with our stream.
Yeah, sorry for the delay, everyone. And links to these books. And on the Discord.
So it seems we actually have quite a few drivers missing. 'Cause both Ferrari drivers are missing, the Merc driver is missing, and one of the Williams drivers also missing.
We did know that Yo, bro, I need to bring up the stats here, actually.
Can you mute yourself,
Right.
please, bro?
Oh, sorry. Jan, you can't alt-tab in...
Yo, I had to mute your dumb ass.
Oh, sorry. If you have the Discord app, it's gonna be way easier to use it.
Alright. Okay, so is everything officially working and cool now?
Yeah, it is for me. Alright. Welcome to Sochi, everyone.
Round 16 of the SA RaceFace League Racing.
This is gonna be an exciting race. We all know tight street-like circuits always bring safety cars out, so hopefully we get to see one today.
Currently
Let me
we're
just
in
check, yeah.
short qualifying. Will be the only qualifying session. And currently Atrocity is leading with a banger of a lap, sitting at 1 minute 29 700ths.
A few drivers didn't get to make their first laps as their tires were too cold. Just not getting their outlap just right, as we know. It is quite difficult around this track. Unfortunately, Clint wasn't able to make it tonight. His kids were sick and he was at the doctor with him. So best of luck to Clint.
It seems we actually have more than just Clint missing tonight, as we have 5 drivers missing from the lineup.
Quite a unlucky circumstances this evening.
For Ferrari.
We were looking for a bigger grouping of drivers, you know, more drivers, the more racing. That's how it goes. We're looking here, we're missing 3 drivers. There's a 18-man team. Azure, who is currently in 7th place with the slowest recorded lap, is leading the standings by quite a few points at 281. Second place is in 226 points with a 55-point difference. And we have the current top Atrocity, who is sitting 8th on the driver standings with 87 points. He unluckily didn't get a few starts in the beginning of the season, and that's why he's not been able to give Azure a challenge for the title. But he has won the previous 3 of 4 races. One of them he was unable to start with.
Disconnected from
So right now we're going to be spectating Azure on, I believe this is the end of his outlap, and he's going to be going in for a hot lap.
We have big expectations for him, knowing that he is one of the top drivers in the series at the moment. You can see he's just warming up his tires coming into the penultimate corner. Got to get a good exit off this corner for this really long straight.
And here he starts his qualifying lap.
Putting all the modes up to qualifying lap modes, engine, ERS deployment. You want to get a nice exit off this for another long...
Well, that was actually quite a decent exit.
He's hugging the inside wall.
Wow,
Really
that was just about a perfect turn.
He took that corner really fast. A little bit of a track extension there, but he hasn't backed off, so he must not have got a track extending warning. Well, he turns in really hard there. Really nice. See the other drivers getting out the way for him. This is the second DRS straight on the corner, which is on the track, which is a really nice hard braking right-hander, then a left-hander, and it goes into a chicane before the penultimate corner, which is a tricky part of the circuit to get right, but when you do, it's really a great part of the track.
I think he's
a lot of overtakes in this area as well.
Yeah, I think he's currently on par to actually set quite a banger of a lap here. Oh, but it looks like he's slowed down just a bit in the last sector. Oh.
Ooh, taking 4th place.
Atrocity. Yeah, Atrocity has set quite the lap here. I see Deathmake in the Merc is also on his out lap, so let's switch to him and see if he's gonna set a good quali lap.
If we check Keegan, he is currently going to go for a hot lap.
Oh, alright, let's switch to
He
Keegan.
just crossed the line now. There we go, in the Williams. He joined the season very late. This is his first race in the F1 League.
Taking the corner a bit wide, but getting the gun down where it needed to be.
As we can see, he hugs this corner really tightly compared to Azure.
So, but he seemed
Very
to have
fast
taken that
corner.
corner much better.
Nice braking zone into here, missing the apex. Missing the apex again. Free whack.
This boy needs a wheel.
Coming into the second DRS straight, which is not necessarily a straight, which has a very tough braking zone into the right-hander and then into the left.
Although it isn't actually much of a straight, it's actually one of the larger overtaking zones on Sochi. We might be seeing quite a few overtakes there using the DRS.
Especially when defending, you can make a lot of mistakes into that braking zone at the end there for the right-hander. And if you're going too wide under the bridge there, it can be quite difficult, but a good driver will pull it off.
Actually,
Well,
something quite interesting to point out that I hadn't noticed earlier is as you set quite a lap on ultra softs, he wasn't even using the quote-unquote fastest tire compound.
He must be playing this into the strategy. As we know, the race will be a 50% race, which is, I'm not too sure how many laps, but it should come to about 40 minutes to an hour, depending on how fast they drive.
We can definitely see 1 to 2 stops, potentially even 3 for some drivers depending on strategies, but I think 2 stop will likely be the best solution if everyone starts on hypers.
Hopefully no one takes damage in the beginning of the race. We don't want any...
Safety car on lap 1.
Yeah. Also, it'd be quite unfortunate for them to fall so far back at the beginning of the race and have to recover from that, which is always very difficult. I think Steven might be doing a fast lap now.
Steven, let's have a look at Steven.
13th place. 3 drivers have not set laps yet. Child Twitch is not here at the moment, as it seems.
Yeah, I think Child Switch seems to having connection issues, which will mean he starts at the end back of the grid if he does not rejoin. Not sure if Steven's doing a flying lap now because he didn't take the first corner very well and he's not going to have much speed into the open straight.
Quite a few of the drivers we do know weren't able to make practice earlier and have been missing out on quite important practice elements for this track. It is a very difficult track to get right.
Yeah.
A lot of high-speed corners, a lot of tough braking zones.
I definitely think that's the trickiest part about this track is the high-speed corners. I think we're going to see a lot of drivers struggling with that.
Yeah, as we see there, Steven track extending quite hard. That should given him an invalid lap time. But it looks like he's still carrying on with it. Maybe he's doing some practice runs because he missed practice earlier.
Yeah,
As we know, the drivers are just trying to dial in their settings, getting their wings correctly, their brake ballast correctly.
We actually see Totimus Prime ending his quali earlier. I'm not too sure what happened there, if he crashed or not.
Oh. Steven goes into the wall there. Doesn't look like he took any damage there. The yellow flags are out.
Steven's definitely gonna either have to go in and check his car or set another flying lap.
Hopefully no drivers were behind him getting caught up in that yellow flag. That would really hamper their fast laps. We can see Keegan now coming out of the pit lane. Gonna do his in lap. We'll see him warming up his tires quite nicely. Steven going around for another hot lap. We can see there on the left that he's done 3 laps on these hypersofts, so if he wants, he won't be able to change his tires. Actually, his fastest lap will be on these really destroyed hypers for the race.
I'm not too sure if this is going to be... Well, he doesn't have much time left, so he's going to have to put in the time now or never. So he's definitely going to be at a disadvantage with these worn tires when it comes to the race, as you do start on your qualifying tires within this race.
Atrocity, Bago, and Bertus are all going out on new tires. Oh, and Jazz, but he's in the pit lane at the moment. They're all going out on new tires, so hopefully they'll be able to set some flying laps with their setups. Oh, Zintax looks like
he's calling quits as well.
Maybe he's happy with his lap. Azur is also in the pit, so he's happy with his lap, looking to sit in 4th place on the ultra soft tire.
Oh, and Atrocity setting another banger of a lap, improving his time by 2 100ths.
And then calling it. That was quite the move there. Really speedy.
Quite the statement.
But we'll see.
Steven doesn't take the last few turns very nicely, and I can't imagine he's going to qualify very well with that lap. Unfortunately, it seems like he's last on the grid currently, and he might be going for another run, but I think let's switch off and see how some of the other drivers are doing. I think Deathmaker is on his out lap, and Keegan also now coming out on his out lap, so we'll...
Oh, Keegan gets taken by Hetzel there. Hetzel on 3-lap old tires. It looks like strategy is really going to play into this game. So let's go to our analyst, Cameron Faree. See what he thinks the strategy will be, knowing that Azur is now on the ultra soft tires. Cameron?
It would seem that most of the teams will probably pull a 2 to 3 stop strategy. With the current tire situation, it would seem that is the most optional strategy. For Red Bull, currently standing at the top of the Constructors Championships, I wonder what they're going to pull out to keep their lead.
It does look like the Red Bull is struggling around this track, actually. We can see them in... Unless that is... No, that is Toro Rosso, my mistake, sorry.
Yes, and then the Alfa Romeos, who are currently sitting in 2nd place with 321 points, they seem to have a substitute driver in currently, Stevo, with a lap time of 132.6. Wonder how he's going to fare.
We see Keegan has just overtaken Hetzel again, and it seems like Hetzel is not doing a flying lap currently, and Hetzel will remain 10th.
Wow, that was quite qualifying. Keegan bringing it back to take 9th, which is quite a decent start on this, I would say. 10th is probably not where you want to be, knowing that you won't have choice of tires coming to the race. So Jazz, Steven, Wobbly and Deathmaker will have choice of tires. Probably opting for the ultra soft tires, maybe extending to a one stop could be a possibility in this race. Seeing there, most of the drivers are actually silver ranking, quite nice, with one D rank driver, 2 S's, which is very impressive. We know we're going to get some clean driving from them. Hopefully Thomas won't take out Keegan as he is behind him in the straight. That first corner is very tricky and will get quite blocked up. We'll definitely see some racing around the long left-hander into the right-hander, which is always nice to see cars side by side.
So, welcome to the race of Sochi, round 16 of the league racing in South Africa. We had an interesting qualifying section as we wait for the drivers to line up.
Here we see
5 red lights, and away we go.
Oh, what a start from the Renault in second place.
Interesting start from the Ferrari, getting left behind. Let me just switch the cameras. It seems that the Renault is putting up quite the fight on the straight.
Yes, the inside hand. Oh, that McLaren just took damage there, front wing, on that Renault back in 10th place.
Atrocity fighting hard for his place here. It seems like
comes back.
one of the Red Bulls, Paul GZA, had quite a shocking start, and both the Alfa Romeos capitalized on his mistake and sitting now at 4th and 5th. And there we have Azure battling hard with Bago ZA. Atrocity remaining in the lead, and Zintax close behind him. I'm sure you'll be keeping him pressured throughout the race.
Hetzel has lost quite a few places. They're down in 14th now.
We see Totimus Prime and Stay fighting quite hard for 5th place. I think it'll be an interesting battle between those two.
The Renault will be getting a nice slipstream down the straight and down the final straight if he's able to catch up in these chicanes here. Really tricky to nail it, especially when your tyres are cold from the start of the race. But we can see some lovely racing here from the Alfa Romeo and the Red Bull.
Azure sitting quite close to Bago ZA, looking to make an overtake, I'm assuming, on the final pit straight. Or will he make an early move before then? No, he seems to be patient.
He's gonna hold it off, I believe. He'll rather take the slipstream down the long straight.
Losing the back end slightly there on the opening straight. We'll have a look here at what's going on.
The slipstream is really powerful down here. Oh, a bit of technical difficulties.
My apologies.
Oh, we're back.
So it
that corner extremely well.
Seems like Azure's actually struggling with gears here. I'm not too sure. He seems to be revving his engine very hard.
The long left-hander is that you are in the dirty air of the car in front. You might lose grip quite rapidly. It's extremely difficult to overtake into the next corner.
Oh, we see Totimus Prime making a huge move on Stay.
3-second time penalty for Deathmaker.
Seems like he may have been cutting corners too many times. Oh, we see both Stay and Totimus Prime going off track. Oh, and we have a crash. We have a crash. Let me have a look. It was Paul GZA who seems to have spun out.
The Ferrari should be catching up to him now.
You don't like to see that. The driver's going to have to work very hard to get back up into the field. But it seems that Ferrari really had a massive problem if he's still so far behind. Perhaps maybe having engine problems.
Higgin down into 12th place. We can see he might have some good DR slipstream up into the next corner. Atrocity setting the fastest lap at 1:33.9. Not as fast as the
Wonder if we'll be seeing Stay making a move again on Totimus Prime on the back straight. It seems DRS is not yet enabled. Oh no, I see it is now indeed enabled. I think Ferrari is really struggling today. De Artagnan. I don't know how to pronounce that name.
Oh, we can see some side-by-side action around the left-hander. They should have the inside line into this corner. We'll see how much space Haas gives him. He backs off quite nicely.
It seems like the Haas will not let this position go so easily. He's fighting very hard to take back the position, and there he has it. Totimus Prime overtakes Stay again. Quite an interesting battle here in the midfield.
The Toro Rosso to catch up and the Renault. This might be a four-way battle now for 5th place. Yeah,
because they're going to be putting each other's drive lines off, and they're going to taking unoptimal turns and slowing down their overall lap time, allowing the drivers behind them to catch up. We could see even more overtakes potentially from Bertus Hugo or Wobbly on Stay and Totimus Prime. It's definitely going to be interesting.
The hard corner.
These two are battling so hard.
Oh, he pushed him off there, but it was a really nice move.
It's brilliant
Had the
racing
race
here
in mind.
between these two, leaving each other just enough space.
Wobbly is also extremely close up to the Toro Rosso in the back there. We can see he might be able to make a move down the straight with the DRS activated.
We see Hetzel's taken a 3-second
We
time
have a yellow
penalty.
flag in sector 3.
Oh, it seems
the
like a
Red Bull
Red
is
Bull
front.
has spun out and broken his wing. Oh, and that's Bago ZA, that's not Paul G ZA. So Azur and Stay getting a free position there, moving up into 3rd and 4th place. Totimus getting 5th now, as Stay finally secured his position in 4th. I think Totimus will definitely not let him go with that one, and he'll be coming back shortly.
Atrocity and Zintax both flying away from the 3rd place, with 4 seconds gap in between each of them. Quite lovely driving there from both of them in the clear air. Totimus Prime with
Getting a 3-second penalty, that'll definitely affect his race quite severely, as you can
A
see.
lot of drivers aren't being cautious enough. We're only 4 laps done in 27 lap race, and they're already picking up penalties. This is unwise driving from the pairs there.
And what I think's quite interesting is I just saw maybe the timesheet was wrong, as the Ferrari was sitting 30 seconds behind and he's now 15 seconds behind. Seems he's gained a bit of pace, but it is odd that he has lost so much pace.
He's taking another penalty. Must be cutting corners there.
Something must be wrong with his race. And you hate to see the Red Bulls really struggling so hard on this track. It just might not have been well suited to them, both spinning out and losing out on this track.
Possibly they don't have the correct downforce adjustments on their cars. Could be running too light a downforce, hoping for that straight advantage. They taking a little squibble there on the curb.
And Red Bull's chassis being so great this year, it surprises you to see this. But it seems Hetzel has also fallen behind now, or it may just be that Paul GZA has re-overtaken.
Bay is breaking away from Totimus Prime, but we can see there the battle for 5th place is intense.
Botus is... It seems to have a train forming. I think Totimus Prime slowing down quite a bit. Wow, going 3 wide, sending the Toro Rosso off the track. Botus might take a penalty for that.
The stewards will have to take a look at that.
Quite an interesting midfield battle here.
Oh yes, much like in real life, the midfield is far more intense. Deathmaker catching up to the McLaren of Child, which is also very close behind Wobbly in the Renault.
I think Totimus potentially locked up somewhere and got a flat spot, because you see he's really slowing down now, and he's forming quite the train behind him. I'm not too sure what happened there at Sector 1. It seems maybe Keegan has spun out, as we can see he's now 34 seconds behind everyone, unless we just missed him pitting, which is definitely a possibility. We can see Bertus is still quite close to Totimus Prime. I think he's definitely having issues. Oh, we can see the Force India making a brave move in there, but he just doesn't quite get it. I think he'll definitely have a look at the Toro Rosso on the pit straight. I think Totimus is definitely holding everyone up at this time.
Yeah, and it's a very difficult track to overtake on. If you aren't getting them through the straights with the DRS, you're going to have a tough time. These corners are extremely close together. Oh, we can see Keegan has taken a stop, then Bago has taken a stop. That's why they're so far down.
I think they definitely must have both taken damage, because I think it'd be quite odd for Keegan to make a stop so early in.
Oh, most definitely. Let's move to our analyst to see what he has to say about the stopping that we've seen already, only in lap 6.
Oh, we can see the sorry, let me just interrupt you there. We see the Formula 1 of Jazz Nova completely crashing out of the race, losing a wheel. We can just see the remnants of his car to the left there.
This is very lucky for most of the other drivers moving up a position. The less drivers on the track, obviously, the easier it is to get points. Not for the sake of Keegan and Bago, but depending on how their lap times go on these new tires, they could easily undercut the other drivers.
I think we see something quite strange must have happened there, because we see Child Twitch overtook Wobbly, and the Force India was ahead of Wobbly, so maybe Child Twitch made contact with Jazz Nova there. Didn't quite see what was going on, but definitely interesting thing to check after the race. I think the stewards will definitely have a look at that.
we take a look at the fastest times each driver set, not too sure how long it would take to get that up. We might be able to see if Azur's catching up on Sin. Oh no, Atrocity with the fastest. He's in the pit at the moment, so he'll be coming out. Not sure what tires, but he is probably going to try and perform an undercut on all the drivers ahead of him.
Seems Atrocity switched now to the Ultra Soft. Definitely the preferential strategy here at Sochi.
Oh, we can see that Keegan is on the soft tire, which is the hardest compound at this track. So he'll be able to go longer than all the other drivers on this set of tires. But I'm pretty sure he'll still have to stop again.
We see, wow, Tottenham's Prime handed a 5-second stop-go penalty for speeding in the pit lane. You hate to see that. And we also saw, I believe it was Botus Hugo getting a 3-second time penalty for corner cutting, as the rules here are quite strict and the stewards don't take any nonsense when it comes to this track stringency.
Unfortunately, the drivers are at a very high level and they should not be making these mistakes, especially into the pit lane like that. That's really going to hamper his next pit stop, and he will have to make another pit stop after that, which is quite unfortunate.
Yes, and I believe on the 5-second stop and go penalty, they won't even be able to change his tires, and he'll simply just have to come in and accept the penalty. We can see Azure is definitely basically been handed, I think, a net first here, as he's going to be going on a lot longer than Zintax on his Ultra Softs, and he's going to be set in quite a nice spot for the race, qualifying so highly on his Ultra Softs.
Oh yeah, qualifying, we can see he definitely did put a lot of thought into his strategy coming to this race. Obviously he knew that he had the pace around here, so he decided to, whoa, cars are merging there a little bit, but he definitely came here understanding that his pace was really fast, and that he would be able to qualify high on the softer tire. I mean, on the harder tires.
Interesting to see Paul GZA making quite the comeback, actually catching up to Stephen T. I think 6 seconds. It's quite a gap, but I think he can definitely cut it down if he keeps up this pace. He seems to be doing very well for himself quite currently.
Velocity after the pit stop has gained a lot of time on stay there. Only 0.6 tenths off. Oh, now 0.2. Stay must have made a mistake in that corner.
Let's actually move on to that fight and have a look.
Stay is on the... Oh, we can see he might be making a move around the outside. No, he backs off. Stay is on 7 laps. Older tires here.
Stay definitely looks to have made a mistake here, because he's definitely lost a lot of pace here, and as you can see,
have wing damage.
Is that possible? It could be possible. Quite interesting. Atrocity already making a pit, I believe, and now re-overtaking Stay. Atrocity looking to gun down for Azure. It's quite interesting to see how much pace Atrocity actually has. I think something definitely went wrong with Stay. He's lost a lot of time. He's now about 17 seconds behind Azure, and we have a warning in Sector 3.
Now crashed. He is out of the session. Where is that? Oh wow, out of the left-hander before the chicane. Coming around here somewhere. No?
You can see a part of his car there. Quite interesting. I think Jaznova will definitely run over and have a few words with him after this race, because he essentially, from what I can assume, ended Jaznova's race in a tussle, and he put himself out now.
Yeah, really unfortunate for the McLarens. Only one driver made it to this track, so their constructors isn't looking too good this season. Syntax with another 3-second penalty.
That's definitely going to affect Syntax quite heavily, as Azure is only 1 second behind, and on the better tyre compound currently.
Atrocity is in the net first position at the moment. The pit stops may be taking about 20 to 25 seconds. Not awfully sure. So Zintax is definitely going to come out quite far behind.
And Azure actually sitting quite comfortably where he is, because he started 4th, and after pit he will come out around about 2nd, which he'll really be happy with.
Azure catching about half a second a lap up to Zintax. Zintax's tires must be falling off now. Azure's ultra soft pick before for qualifying definitely has made him big slide there, but he's definitely made a lot of improvements into his racing strategies definitely bringing his 3 winning streak to the table here.
Atrocity definitely setting some blistering laps here, because he is absolutely cutting that gap down as we speak. I mean, he's only 14 seconds away from the front, and he's 13 seconds away from second position, as it was 20 seconds just a moment ago.
Keegan taking a lot of nice angles, nice lines around these corners here. On the harder tire, it must have taken him quite a while to set up to warm up his tires to the optimal temperature. Just to go around this track, a lot of grip is required to get around these fast corners.
And you can definitely see both Alfa Romeos have not made their stop yet, neither has the Renault in the lead, so Atrocity will definitely be moving into that first position when they make pit stops, as he is only now 12 seconds away from second position. Oh, and I think Azure might be making a move here on the first position.
He's been catching a lot. Definitely the Hypersoft is falling off extremely quickly, more than I would have expected on this track. I think Zintax might be pushing it to hopefully get a 1-stop out.
I think so. I would really have expected the tires to last her around a lap 12, but it seems they're just a bit under, only lasting about 9 laps. As you can see, their pace is really falling off around this time. It seems Azure is definitely going to stay out on these Ultra Softs. I wonder if he's going to maybe go long on the Ultra Softs and move to Hypers for his end of the race and maybe have a comeback at Atrocity. But I think Atrocity's pace at this moment is just too good. He seems to be driving with the speed of gods at this point.
His tires could definitely be starting to set in only now because of such a hard compound. We do know he's done a few laps on them in qualifying. Qualifying Parc Fermé rules make him have to use the same tires from the previous from the qualifying.
We see another yellow flag in the third sector, now sector 1. I wonder if someone's having a problem. We can see Stay, Bertus and Paul GZA now all in the pit lanes. It'll be interesting to see where they come out now. Oh, and it seems Deathmaker has retired.
That pushes Keegan up into the 1 point in 10th position. Very great for his first race. Doing quite well. Unfortunately, he must have taken damage in the beginning there. Moving onto such a hard compound really must have been a reaction move.
And what I quite find interesting here is Totemus Prime definitely putting on a strong battle for 4th at one point in this race, is now 11th after making a pit. I think he had some major issues after going off the track and maybe had a flat spot in his tyre and had to pit a bit early.
Azira's coming into pit, wow. Would have never expected that. Extremely strange, he could have gone much longer on these tyres.
Maybe they don't quite last as long as we first suspected, as definitely the Williams strategist, or sorry, excuse me, the Alfa Romeo strategist has definitely seen a more optimal strategy.
He should be looking to, oh, he's moving on to the soft tyres, so he'll be
quite
going
interesting.
A 1-stop. I'm not sure Atrocity would make it on the Ultra Softs now that I'm thinking about it.
Actually, yeah, okay, if Azure only managed,
hardest compounds. Azure, Alfa Romeo must definitely know something about this track and the harder compounds.
You know what I think?
Atrocity taking a 3-second penalty there.
Atrocity making a 3-second penalty. I wonder if he perhaps cut a corner unintentionally. I think Azure is now sitting in quite the good position. His qualifying time, Wobbly speeding in the pit lane, getting a 5-second stop go penalty. That'll definitely affect his races. Paul GZA is right behind him. I think Azure is in magnificent position in this race with optimal strategy, as he got the Ultra Softs into quite a high qualifying position during qualifying, and obviously he started on those tires and he would last longer, and he's only going for a 1-stop, and I think that the softs will definitely last, whereas Atrocity, I don't think those Ultra Softs are going to last much longer.
Probably dropping down quite a few positions there when he went into the pit. I'm not too sure what's going on. Must be changing a front wing or something.
Perhaps he took damage earlier.
And he did get that 5-second stop go, so he might have to come back in again, unless he was serving that now. But Keegan up into 8th place. Really, what a recovery drive.
I believe everyone currently has to make another stop except for Zero if I'm looking at these stats, because we still have about 14 laps left, and I just don't think these ultra softs are gonna last. As we saw Zero pitting in after 10 laps, it seems his tires were falling off. We have a yellow flag in the first sector. I wonder what that's
could be
about.
down by the stop. Oh, wonder where that was.
Now yellow flags in sector 3. Stephen T with a 3-second time penalty. I'm sure he maybe locked up and went off track. The F1 2018 game is quite strict with its corner cutting, and even something so simple as locking up and going off course can definitely send you into the penalties.
Yes, you definitely don't want penalties.
Yeah.
Let's move to our analyst Cameron. Maybe he can give us some insight onto these strategies.
Well, the strategies are very inconsistent at this point. If we're looking at who's currently in 4th place, Steve, who is fully known as Steve, he was called in as a replacement driver, and I did not see his name in practice. So for a man who I presume did not practice, he's doing really well up in 4th place.
He could have been practicing some other times before, but this is definitely a lovely drive from him. Only 23 seconds off of Azure.
If we watch Hugo and Paul as they are a few seconds in between, we remember that earlier today we got the news that they will be switching spots in the teams as of Silverstone. I wonder why this is.
Could be a lack of pace coming from the Red Bull driver for a reason to bring up the Toro Rosso driver.
It would seem so, because Paul is not far behind Bertus.
We can see Keegan 8 laps down on his tyres, but still catching up to Hetzel on newer, faster tyres. Let's hope he doesn't lunge too hard. He might be taking a look. No.
Yeah, interesting battle here between Totemus Prime and Keegan. Totemus Prime recently overtaking Keegan, but he seems to not be letting him go so easily. But I think Keegan's going to have quite the problem coming back at Totemus Prime as he's on the soft tyres.
Keegan is driving really nicely around these corners, hitting every apex.
Something
really well.
I find quite interesting is our display keeps showing Keegan as having ultra softs, and there we see he's on softs again, and there's ultra softs. Definitely something wrong with the cameras, obviously not processing the RBG colors correctly, but he is indeed on the soft tires, and he's made a lovely move there at the end, but Totemus Prime just not letting him have.
Oh, Totemus, my apologies. He's going to have the inside into this right-hander, Totemus. We'll see if Keegan can... Oh, he's squeezing him really hard there. Could have got a corner cut there.
Definitely not the cleanest driving I've seen. 5-second stop go penalty for Stephen T for ignoring the blue flag, which indeed means that Atrocity must be making moves up in the front already. Oh no, it seems maybe Zintax was the one stuck behind Stephen T. Quite interesting to see here.
You really don't want to get these penalties for blue flags. You are at the back of the lobby. You should move out the way for the leaders.
Definitely seems like Totem is starting to pull away from Keegan. He potentially maybe locked up and got a flat spot. It was just pushed his tires too hard and they've overheated now and he's losing a bit of pace. So interesting to see if he'll maybe come back at Totemus Prime. Totemus Prime definitely moving up the pack as he was quite far down after having issues early on in the race.
Going really wide around that corner.
Seems like he's definitely struggling for rear grip as he's losing the back end on some of these corners.
Keegan really dropping off here. Was within 1 second at one point. Now down about a second and a half. But I'm pretty sure if he drives this well and drives this clean, he should be able to get back in that DRSer.
Definitely interesting here. It seems like the Ultra Soft just has way too much pace for the soft tires. But we can see Keegan's not quite losing it just yet. I think he's definitely going to fight for this position. Quite an interesting race so far. Not much action happening anywhere else, but it seems Atrocity is definitely putting away from the pack. But he still has a stop to make. Oh! Totemus Prime spinning out.
Keegan having to make a move around there. Unfortunately, Tottenham now having to do that spin is going to have damaged his rear tyres quite a lot. He might be taken again by his teammate over here.
Yeah, he's definitely going to have to leave his teammate through. His teammate lapping him now, quite interesting. And Hetzel's definitely going to have a look here at Tottenham's prime. Tottenham is going to be a bit unsettled. Oh, and he spins again. Oh,
unfortunate. Those rear tyres are definitely dead at the moment.
Azure taking a 3-second time penalty. That'll definitely affect him when he needs to come back at Atrocity.
Really dangerous move there coming in. Wobbly almost got taken out. Another spin. Oh,
Tottenham's tyres have really gone off, and he suffers a 5-second stop-go penalty, it seems.
He spun the same amount of times in the 4 corners here that Vettel spun the whole season last year, which is incredible. This is not something you would expect from a A-League driver.
I think he's definitely worn out his tyres way too much, and you will be seeing him making a pit regardless of the penalty. You see he's really struggling around even the minor turns for grip.
Oh, no grip around that corner there.
He's now being taken over by Wobbly. Sad to see. Yeah. Oh, lucky to not. Oh, he's taken massive damage, and that was definitely dangerous driving. We'll probably be seeing a huge penalty for him after the race.
Unfortunately, couldn't see the other drivers coming around the corner, but his team should have let him know there were faster drivers coming around.
I think that was Azure he crashed into, and definitely gonna set Azure back a little bit. He will. That's quite unfortunate for Azure.
Hopefully, he takes no damage from that.
Tottenham is finally making his pit. I wonder, is he going to replace that front wing? I think he's going to have to.
Still another 10 laps to go.
Yes, they are replacing his front wing. Oh no, he has to set his stop penalty first. Interesting tyre switch animations there.
Front wing as well. The pit crew did the best they could at that moment.
Wobbly retiring out of the race. Interesting to see, as he was doing quite well early on in the race, sitting as high as 5th place.
Might be able to see where he was, where he crashed.
It seems he's just lost it and lost a wheel. Unfortunate to see. A lot of drivers making mistakes on this track and losing wheels.
We can see Keegan just being lapped there by the leader, who still is yet to pit. Oh no, wait, he did pit, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he's pit once already. Tottenham is taking another 3-second time penalty. It seems like Tottenham is not coming back into this race anytime soon. And they will likely retire his car shortly to save engine spec and not want to damage the car too much further. But it would be interesting to see what they do. Maybe leave him out and get the fastest lap. If he can get back into 10th, he definitely takes the extra point. If they have that regulation, actually.
We can see all the drivers are now splitting up quite a bit. Now we can see everyone making their paces, just getting into their tyres, hoping for the next pit stops to make their plays. This is the strategy game.
I think let's actually take a look at how many pit stops everyone has made. So Bago ZA now having made 2 stops with new Ultra Softs that will likely get him to the end of the race, but he's going to be struggling near the end, I predict. So potentially Hetzel can capitalize on that if he gets set onto a fresher tire set. And it seems the Haas of Atrocity is struggling a little bit for grip here in the last few corners. It'll be interesting to see. Oh, yeah, you can really see those Ultra Softs are not lasting towards the end. I think the play for Trusty here is going to be to go to Hyper Softs, because he's definitely going to have a lot of pace then on Azure, I believe.
Keegan also having gone about the same length as Atrocity has on these tyres, except he is on the harder compound, of course.
I think this will likely... Oh, Keegan taking a 3-second time penalty for cutting corners.
That is his first one quite late into the race. We can see he is definitely a skilled driver, not making much mistakes.
I definitely think this will be the last lap we see Atrocity on Ultra Soft. I think the play here for him would be to move on to the Hypersofts, but I don't know if they have a set of Hypers left, and he might have to go on to another set of Ultras. But he's definitely losing a lot of pace here. I don't see him staying out on these tyres too much longer.
Definitely a lot of sliding around these corners.
Yeah. You can just see he's struggling for that little bit of grip in the turns.
Now coming up to the trickiest part of the track. So we'll see how his tyres fare around these corners. Little lock up there on the right front. Did quite well.
Definitely seems to be like sliding into the turns a bit though. Oh, he took that very nicely. Oh.
Fuel, because we do know that this can be a fuel game later on.
Atrocity going for the interesting play here. Could he perhaps be trying to finish on these tyres? I don't think it's possible. I don't see him doing 7 laps on these tyres. I think right now he's just trying to get away from Zintax and Azure and just get himself far enough in the front, because if he goes on Hypers now, he'll still likely be in front of Zintax and Azure, and then he'll basically just have the race in his hands if he does not make a mistake. Interesting to see is, although his tyres are so much older, it doesn't seem like Zintax has made up too much time, but as I speak it looks like he's closing the gap in a little bit.
Keegan and Bago are having quite a battle over there.
Let's actually move on and have a look at that. It seems
Keegan on much older tyres in the Williams.
Bago definitely making quite the comeback as he spun out early on in the race, now looking to capitalize.
Bago should definitely have the pace around here. Hopefully he drives closely behind, just sits in the slipstream, saves his fuel, and takes him on this DRS straight.
Interesting to see Stephen T taking yet another 3-second time penalty. Having all those penalties added up, I think Totemis could actually be in the running for points here if Totemis Prime can close the gap. Without forgetting that Totemis Prime also has a fair share of 3-second time penalties.
The drivers must be checking up with Jeff quite often to see if the drivers ahead and behind have penalties, because you don't want to drive too hard into another driver and maybe risk a crash when they have a penalty and you can pass them that way.
If we just look at the timesheet here between the top 3, you can see Azure's slightly closing in but still staying 6 seconds away from Zintax, whereas Zintax now is actually starting to fall behind Atrocity a bit, as we saw it was going into the 23 seconds but now going into 25 seconds. He definitely doesn't have the same pace. Oh, they make a bit of contact there.
Keegan not giving him enough room around that corner. He should be aware of these things, but drivers do make mistakes quite often, and we have seen him defending quite well. A lock up from the Red Bull there.
Yeah, I think the Red Bull could suffer here potentially if he doesn't get this move done. He's going to have quite a bit of wear on his tyres, especially from the dirty air and all the locking up he's making from leaving the braking so late, because he needs to try and get this move done. He's definitely got the pace to make it, but he's just not getting past at this point.
Keegan just stretching the gap ever so slightly, down from 2/10 to 4/10, which is still within DRS range. So, and we see there Bago opening his DRS flaps, catching quite quickly. Keegan going inside to defend.
Definitely had a lot more pace there with the help of DRS. And there it seems as if he secured the move. Yes, and he's done it, it seems. But let's see if maybe Keegan
down this next straight.
Yeah. But I think what's interesting to see is Bago is actually on pretty fresh ultra softs, as Keegan's on pretty worn softs, and I just don't think he's going to have the pace to come back with these worn tyres. As you see, he takes the apex a bit wide, potentially not having the grip.
Keegan dropping out of DRS range. Bago definitely just gaining a lot of more time. Keegan must have been holding him up there on the softs, the old softs.
I think let's take another look here at Atrocity. Sorry, I interrupted.
Strange to see Atrocity still hasn't pitted on those ultra softs.
Yeah, they're definitely interesting. It seems as though he's looking to finish on these tyres. I don't know if that's the smartest play at this moment, because he might struggle too much for grip towards the end, but I'll be honest, he has quite the gap between him and the back runners. Zero probably the only one who could put up a fight later on in the race in terms of tyre condition, but I think Azure has just got too much pace on these guys.
I think let's move to Cameron if he wants to bring up something about the standings, because this could change the game.
Oh, yes. For Alfa Romeo, who are currently sitting in 3rd or 4th, they will be making up 27 points. Those 27 points are important. They'll be putting them in the lead with 414, with Red Bull only gaining 11 points, putting them at 412, which will switch up the standings. I hope this is the same for Alfa Romeo, but Red Bull might want to change something up.
Steven T not doing too well all the way back there, especially with all his penalties. Definitely not going to help the team out here. Bertus, on the other hand, doing quite well to get up into 5th after that spin in the beginning, I believe. But thank you, Cameron, for that.
Interesting to see here, Totemis is actually making quite... Oh, Trusty getting a 3-second time penalty as he just doesn't have the grip to...
3-second time penalty as well.
Really? Oh, wow. So I think what's interesting here is Totemis is actually catching up quite a bit to Stephen T in these last few laps, as he definitely has the fresher tyres, and Stephen T is going to start falling off. I think...
You can see Atrocity's rear now beginning to slide out,
yeah.
As we saw, I'm not sure who exactly it was earlier on, sliding out Totemis, I believe.
With all Stephen T's penalties, I think Totemis may just be looking at points here.
Egan falling off quite a bit from Bago there, 6 seconds now. Maybe he's just nursing his tyres, hoping to stay ahead of Hetzel. Bertus is gaining quite a bit on Steve there, I believe. Both on the same tyres with the same age. Interesting, we haven't seen any drivers come into pits for another pit at the moment. All these really old tyres.
Yeah, really interesting to see. I definitely thought Azure definitely had a run-in for the lead being on the soft tyres, but it just seems like Atrocity has the pace on these worn ultra soft tyres. I think he's definitely just got that extra bit of skill to help guide him through to the end of this race with those worn tyres.
We definitely had some lovely racing in the beginning of this Russian track with the 16th round coming in for this season. Unfortunately, it looks like all the drivers have now split up and are doing the best they can to keep their positions and nurse their tyres home, because no one wants to pit at the moment. Only a few drivers being able to pit, probably Atrocity, Azure, and Paul G, and maybe Hetzel would be able to pit with free, almost a free pit stop coming out in the same place.
Interesting to see. I think the marshals are going to have a talking to. You can see all the debris still left on the track from all the crashes. Quite interesting to me why they haven't cleared that up, as it's quite a dangerous hazard. If any of the drivers goes off, you can definitely see them losing perhaps a tyre.
Those are some big pieces as well. They could very easily take out a piece of front wing or go into an air duct. That would be race ending for some drivers.
Interesting. Atrocity definitely seems like he's going to finish on these tyres. I didn't think the Ultra Softs had it in them, but clearly they do. Interesting from Azure is that he pitted around 10 laps on the Ultra Softs. So it seems like maybe he didn't put the full use of those tyres in. He maybe could have been finishing on hypers now if he put in a bit more work on the Ultra Soft.
We do need to consider that he had done his qualifying laps on those Ultra Softs. But what I find very interesting is that Azure only made up one place with this great strategy that we were talking about earlier on. But he is not too far off of Zintax, which, with Zintax taking another penalty, Azure could be able to pull this through just based on penalties.
we just need to keep in mind is actually quite a few of the drivers do indeed have penalties. So it will be interesting to see what happens after the race.
Optimus Prime taking another penalty, fighting Stephen T down at the bottom.
Interesting, actually, Optimus caught up quite a bit to take over Stephen T, but we'll have to see how the penalties stack up for each driver. It could be 50-50 either way here. Both Optimus Prime and Stephen getting a multitude of penalties. Both of them going off the track there.
And again,
definitely seems like Steve. Some very dirty driving between the two.
I think have to be brought up with the stewards. Looks like the Toro Rosso has gone out now. Really unfortunate. Stephen T. with
Stephen T seems to have made a tactical retirement into the wall after perhaps being infuriated by Totemus's driving style. And it seems Totemus out now as well. The tires just did not last, or maybe it was more of a
damage from that little scuffle earlier on.
Yes.
This does seem like an open lobby at the moment, not some professional racing league. Quite unfortunate for most of the drivers. Obviously, the top runners, not so much. These are professionals. They are really killing it at the game right now.
And Keegan, being a first-time entrant, I believe, to the league, doing quite remarkably, I would say, as he hasn't crashed, and half of the lobby has crashed.
Keegan really speaking to us on the pre-race interviews about how nervous he was coming into this race, and it looks like he's really held his own, made a clear, good strategy, holding those one stop from the beginning of the session, which is quite fantastic to see.
Atrocity setting the gap even bigger now between Zintax and Azure on these very worn tires. It's quite interesting to see. Perhaps we can take a look at the telemetry. I don't fully believe we can see how his tires look from here, as we don't have such advanced analyzing tools here.
We can see Bertus is catching up to Stay, maybe about a 10th a lap, so this is the last lap. He won't be able to make it unless Stay makes a mistake around this lap.
Yes, I believe Atrocity has actually lapped everyone, so when Atrocity finishes, the whole lobby will actually finish the race. But I don't believe he's overtaken Stay, but I could be wrong. No, I can't quite do the math here. I don't think Atrocity has overtaken Zintax or Azure, so we'll definitely see perhaps Bertus's and down race being over as soon as Atrocity ends the race.
Azure should be taking second place here with all those penalties that Zintax got, unless he has penalties of his own, but I'm not too sure. I haven't been taking notes too well.
Bertus definitely getting close to Stay, but I don't know if he'll quite manage to get the move done with the limited time he has.
Yeah, unfortunately this is the last lap, and it does look like everyone will be finishing in these. Atrocity coming now into the final sector.
What a brilliant drive from Atrocity. You have to give it to him.
Great qualifying, great racing. This is a A-League racer, and you can definitely tell. Oh, just losing the rear there a little bit. Both horses have been losing the rear. Maybe the downforce is not doing too well on their rear tires, but he does come home first. Lovely.
And here you have it, Atrocity, your round 16 Sochi race winner. Congratulations to Atrocity. And it does seem like Syntax will follow shortly behind him. Interesting to note, Azure definitely has a chance here at being second place due to all the penalties Zintax has acquired. So it'll be interesting to look at the race director afterwards.
And as Cameron had stated earlier on, it does look like the second Red Bull crash, so they'll be even further down behind in the Constructors' Championship. Egan taking a 5-second stop-go penalty, which will be added on at the end of the race, which it is now. So he finishes in 8th position. Luckily all the drivers had really nice weather here. There was no rain on if there was a rain chance, it could have really stirred up the race, especially with Azure having such a lovely hard compound start. It would have been able to go longer until the rain came out, but it was dry, and yeah.
And Azure, they're finishing in third place, so he just had too many penalties and couldn't quite get
We'll see
Zintax.
now the standings. Now we see the drivers celebrate their wins.
Congratulations to Atrocity on a brilliant victory here at Sochi.
Alfa Romeo really taking the team championship though. That was a lovely drive for both drivers, coming third and fourth.
You'd love to see an all South African podium here in the South African League Racing.
Get some congratulations between the drivers there. Not too sure how they're feeling in real life, but we know the AI only got one animation, and that's how it be.
Wow, so we can see a
taking 11
multitude
second.
of penalties.
If you check the race director, you should be able to see some more statistics there. A lot of DNFs, unfortunately. Really not that great.
Interesting to see here is the list of incidents.
I'm gonna kill myself.
Well, here we have our
Dude.
exclusive interview with Keegan himself.
Dude,
Keegan, how was the race?
the fucking damage on my front wheel will make me kill myself.
Apologies for the vulgar language there, viewers.
Yeah.
Alright, and that wraps up our stream. Thank you.